And now, ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to our narrator for today's chilling tale. He will be sharing a horrifying journey from the depths of hell itself. Bus number 375 departed from the Yuanming Yuan station in Beijing. The clock had just struck midnight, the final trip of a long day that had drained the city. "Are we not all ghosts on this bus?" she asked, her voice raspy but clear. The old woman's words echoed in their ears, weaving a tapestry of uncertainty and unease. The bus lurched to a halt, throwing the passengers forward. In the sudden darkness, the old woman gasped, clutching the seat in front of her. "What was that?" she whispered, her voice trembling. Minutes ticked by, each one heavy with anticipation. The old woman, unable to contain her unease any longer, stood up abruptly. "Thief!" she shouted, her voice echoing through the bus. "That young man stole my purse." The young man, jolted out of his thoughts, stared at her in disbelief. The silence of the ruined temple was broken only by the rustling of leaves and the distant call of a crow. He turned and walked slowly back to the road, his steps heavy with a newfound understanding. He opened his mouth to protest, but she cut him off. He said he saw a bus submerged in the water. "We would love to hear your perspective on this spine-tingling tale. Thank you for listening to the story. If you enjoyed it, please show your support by giving us a like. Your support motivates us to keep creating chilling tales that will send shivers down your spine. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you never miss out on our terrifying tales. Stay tuned for more spine-chilling stories that will leave you up all night. Thank you and have a great day." Police arrived, and there it was, at the bottom of the lake. What was terrifying wasn't that the bus was found, but what was inside it. Only 3 bodies: the driver, the assistant, and a man no one could identify. Each corpse's mouth was gaping open in pure terror, their faces frozen in the moment of death, as if they had seen something no human should see. And the fuel tank? It was empty, not of gasoline, but filled with blood. How did the bus travel that far? Why did no camera capture its journey? And who were those 3 that boarded? Questions that remained unanswered. Only the young man and the old woman survived a journey that crossed into the beyond. "Don't deny it," she thundered, her eyes blazing with anger. "I saw you take it." The old woman turned to the driver, her voice now softer but no less insistent. "Driver, please stop the bus. That man has stolen my purse, and I want to take him to the police." The driver, caught between his duty and the eerie atmosphere that had settled over the bus, hesitated. The young man, his face paling, shook his head frantically, but his protests were drowned out by the old woman's insistent demands. "Stop the bus, driver, please." The young man leaned forward, peering into the darkness outside. All right, I'll stop the bus," he muttered, reaching for the lever. The bus lurched to a halt, throwing the passengers forward. The doors hissed open, and the 2 figures stepped out into the desolate street. The old woman grabbed the young man's arm, her grip tight. "Come with me," she hissed, pulling him towards the door. "We need to get that thief to the police." The young man, bewildered and afraid, allowed himself to be dragged out of the bus. As the door slid shut, he turned back to find the old woman had vanished. Startled, he rushed to the window and peered inside. The bus was empty. The driver and his assistant were gone. The couple was nowhere to be seen, and the 3 strange passengers from before had also disappeared. Confused and shaken, he turned away from the window and hurried after the old woman, desperate to understand the strange turn of events. "I don't know," he replied, his voice equally hushed. Beside him stood the old woman, her eyes fixed on the overgrown path leading away from the temple. "Where are we?" he asked, his voice echoing in the stillness. The old woman turned to him, a sad smile gracing her lips. "We are at the end of the line," she replied, her voice raspy but clear. "This is where the bus journey ends." "What do you mean?" he asked, taking a step closer. The young man frowned, puzzled by her cryptic words. "Your path lies ahead, young one. Mine is behind." The old woman turned back, her gaze fixed on the overgrown path. "This is where we part ways," she said softly. With that, she turned and slowly began to walk away, her footsteps crunching on the gravel path. The young man stood rooted to the spot, his mind struggling to comprehend her words. He watched her disappear around a bend, her frail figure swallowed by the shadows. The driver navigated the dark roads with a steady hand, his eyes scanning the empty streets ahead. The headlights cut through the gloom, momentarily revealing the dilapidated buildings that lined the route. The couple stirred, their eyes widening in surprise. Before they could respond, the old woman turned to the young man, her gaze unwavering. "You too, young one. Are you not a ghost?" Outside, in the middle of the deserted road, stood two figures waving frantically for the bus to stop. Between them was a third man, limp and slouched, his face hidden, his body lifeless, like a puppet without strings. The new arrivals shuffled to the back of the bus, their presence casting an unsettling shadow over the small gathering. The old woman, unable to shake off a growing sense of unease, watched them warily from her seat. The couple, their earlier closeness forgotten, huddled close to the young man, seeking comfort in numbers. The driver, his expression grim, pulled the doors shut and the bus lurched forward, swallowing the darkness once more. Their forms were gaunt, their movements desperate, their faces obscured by the shadows cast by their wide-brimmed hats. The driver hesitated for a moment, his gaze lingering on the strange figures. The young man, his curiosity piqued, leaned forward. "Should we stop, driver?" he asked, his voice echoing in the stillness. The driver exchanged glances with his assistant, a silent conversation passing between them. Finally, he nodded slowly and brought the bus to a halt. The young man looked up from his lap, startled by the sudden intrusion. For a moment, their eyes locked, and in that brief instant, a shared understanding seemed to pass between them. "Perhaps," he whispered, a hint of weariness in his voice. The air was thick with the smell of exhaust and despair, a fitting aroma for a journey into the abyss. There were only a few passengers on board. A single young man sitting alone, his eyes fixed on some unseen point in the distance, lost in his own thoughts. A couple huddled together against the cold, seeking solace in each other's presence, and the driver's assistant, a young woman with tired eyes and weary limbs accustomed to the lonely vigil of late-night shifts. The bus rumbled forward, leaving the station behind. "So brace yourselves." Wrapped in layers of clothing, she moved with a slow, measured pace, her eyes sharp and unwavering despite her age. She settled into the second-to-last row, her gaze sweeping across the bus as if searching for something, or perhaps someone. The engine's hum and the tires' screech were the only sounds that dared to pierce the heavy silence. The passengers were shrouded in their own little worlds, lost in the labyrinth of their thoughts. On a pitch-black winter night, when the cold pierced soles before it touched skin and the sidewalk seemed to shrink under the moan of the wind, suddenly, the doors hissed open and an elderly lady hurried to board. Then, As if a silent agreement had been reached, the old woman turned to the couple, her eyes boring into theirs. As the bus hurtled through the empty streets, a sense of foreboding settled over the passengers. But in truth, three figures boarded. Then suddenly, a heart-stopping screech of brakes shattered the silence. When the lights returned, a wave of relief washed over the passengers. The doors hissed open, and the two figures stepped in. A creeping stillness returned to the bus, punctuated only by the rhythmic hum of the engine and the soft whisper of the wind outside. He sighed heavily, defeated by her relentless pleas. In the pale light of dawn, the young man found himself standing before the ruins of a crumbling temple, its weathered stones silent witnesses to centuries past. As the sun rose higher in the sky, casting its golden rays over the ancient temple, the young man found himself alone in the gathering light. 2 days later, a call came in from a villager near an artificial lake, 100 kilometers from the bus's route. Did you find yourself on the edge of your seat throughout this harrowing journey? Please share your thoughts and join the discussion below.